rotation. And now you are looking at Jorge Garcia. He is getting ready to compete on the pommel horse. Again, he is up against Kyle Asano.
This young man is really committed to the sport of gymnastics. He says for his hobbies, he likes to watch gymnastics videos. We saw him do great flares on the floor. You can see he can also do very good flares on the horse as well. Did flares up to a handstand. He's working without the pommels. Whoa!
Form breaks. Have a
seat. He was doing a really difficult combination of skills there without the pommels, which is so much more difficult to work on the body of the horse because of the elevation of the pommels are a little bit easier. When you put your hands down on the leather, it's very difficult, and he got into some trouble. And of course, the judges will take off a half a point for falling off the exercise, and then he is obligated to pick up where he left off and continue the exercise. Does flares to a handstand on the end. He breaks into this scissors, one of the requirements. Flares again to a handstand and a helicopter pirouette off. That's a nice dismount.
That's very pretty. Too bad he had that major break in the middle.
Watch what happens here. See, he's working without the pommels. And those pommels are about 4.5 inches up, so you have to have really good elevation above the horse. And once you start to lose it in the shoulders and you get low to the horse, you're in trouble. This was a good part of the exercise, though. He does flares right to a handstand as he pirouettes all the way down to the end and continues to pirouette off. That's a beautiful dismount.
Jorge Garcia. Already he was down 0.15 to Kyle Asano. The score for this apparatus, 8.35. Tough break for Jorge Garcia. That does take the pressure off of Kyle Asano. These are two very young gymnasts. Jorge Garcia just 18, Kyle Asano just 17. And this is really great in their development that they're getting this opportunity not only to compete, but to be on television and to experience all of these things.
And they're competing with the pressure of the big guys. Although Lance Ringgold is only 18 years old, he's still one of the top guys in the U.S. All right, away again. Trouble on the horse.
Well, that means this meet isn't over yet. The score was 8.35 for Jorge Garcia. So Kyle Asano has now opened the door.
Kyle opened with some flares on the end, and he was traveling up. Looked like he was low in elevation, but we'll have to... Oh, he's going to start right over. Because he made a mistake on the opening skill, he can pick up right at the beginning of the exercise as he chose to do. Little form breaks. His pommel rushing down. He's really having to fight. Oh. Now that's the kind of mistake that young gymnasts tend to make. He lost concentration because he made a mistake earlier, and he gave up some valuable points on a very easy skill. This is a good format for these guys, though, because it's good pressure, it's a good test. It doesn't affect their national ranking at this stage, and they're all in the developmental stages of the U.S. national team. So he'll learn a great deal from having participated here. Here's the mount. He does the flares. You can see he's working his way in towards the pommels, and he clips his knee on the end of the horse. And once you lose your momentum on the flares, there's not a lot you can do. Right here he does a handstand and a good clean dismount. Good finish, but of course the trouble early in the exercise is going to really hurt his score.
The tough part is with both gymnasts having major falls like that, you really have to stay on top of the deductions. 7.9 the score. Jorge Garcia now leads Kyle Asano. And the women have completed one rotation. The men have completed two. Let's take a look first at the scoring for the women. Margaret Ulett, 9.8 to Carol Ulrich's 9.625. The women have just vaulted. Now the men have done two rotations, as I said. It is Kyle Asano against Jorge Garcia. Jorge Garcia leads by 0.3, 17.5 to 17.2. And continuing now with the rotation, the men have moved to the still rings. The women will compete on the uneven parallel bars. First up, Kyle Asano.
This is an important test for these young gymnasts because both of them had trouble in the second event, the pommel horse. It'll be interesting to see and test their mental stability here and see if they can pick it up and carry on from having an early mistake. There's a kip to a cross, good strength move, and a back kip to a handstand. Now you'll find that the younger gymnasts tend to be really good swingers on the rings. but have not yet matured into the physical strength that it takes to be really strong. And you can see there he had some trouble. His handstand is a little weak and he's a little wobbly. But as he gets a little stronger and as he gets a little older, he'll mature into the strength that it takes to be really solid. But you can see, oh, he is really having trouble on those handstands. Front giant. And once again, though, a big swinger, he can do good giants and a good layout double back, but controlling the handstands takes an incredible amount of strength, and he'll just have to mature into that.
And that's really the difference between men's and women's gymnastics, where maturing helps the male gymnast. As they get older, they start peaking in their early 20s. This kid's only 17 years old. His body's physically just not strong enough.
And he really had some trouble there. He did a press. He went up too fast. He was a little loose, lost balance. But once again, the guy can swing like crazy because he just bails right out there with a good body line and a really high layout double back. He'll get a little stronger, and he'll put that together and be a really fine ring man.
Well, this is called still rings. Years ago, I think it was like 40 years ago, it was the flying rings, when the rings used to swing back and forth. And
sometimes you end up doing that. Not on purpose.
That's why they named it still rings, to remind us. 8.65 for Kyle Asano. Again, Jorge Garcia, our next competitor, holds a slight advantage, 0.3. 0.3 of a point over Kyle Asano, and could really distance himself here if he does a fine job.
There's a pull to a front lever. Keeps his body horizontal, kip to a cross. Presses to a handstand. He is a little weak, but he is significantly stronger than Asano. He's having trouble with the handstands, but where do you see this guy swing? There's that double whippet or Yamawaki. He's having a little trouble controlling the rings, but he told us earlier he was planning to cut a triple back off the rings today. Let's see if he goes for it. No, he doesn't. He's going to do a really nice, clean layout double back and go with consistency. As we mentioned earlier in the show, consistency really is going to be a key to advancing to the further rounds.
That is so important. I think he was right in forgetting the triple back.
That pike position Yamawaki or double whippet, kind of a crazy sounding name, but really interesting looking move. Here he just bails away, really high, clean layout double, and an excellent landing.
He stuck it.
Maybe he'll save the triple for a later round if he advances on.
And he should outscore Kyle Asano. Again, the score for Asano is 8.65. There you see the number for Jorge Garcia, 9.55. So he is widening the gap between himself and Kyle Asano. Right now, Jorge Garcia looks like he's headed to the next round. Right now, we are headed, though, to the uneven parallel bars, where Carol Ulrich is ready to mount. At the U.S. Olympic trials, she finished 15th in the all-around. She's an up-and-comer for the United States program.
Glide kip cast to a full pirouette right off the bat. Good opening moves. Handstand front. Oh, she didn't have the kind of momentum that she really needed to get the height above the bar to make the catch on that straddle front, or Jaeger, as invented by an East German gymnast named Jaeger. She has to traverse bars. She has to work both the high bar and the lower bar. She has to show changes of directions as she did with her mount. And she dismounts with a toe on, front with a half.
Falling off the unevens, major deduction.
Right here, she hops, swings through, and she just really cuts her momentum short. She's low and not close enough. Actually, if she were a little higher, I think she would have rotated into the bar and have been able to catch that. But there's a good cast to a handstand, good straight body position. Giant, a slight bend of the arms, toe on, front with a half, dismount in one step.
Now, already she trails her competitor, Margaret Ulett, by .225.
8.85.
I think you heard our public address announcer, Jan Clare, give us the bad news. 8.85 for Carol Ulrich. Although when you add a half a point for falling, it'd be a 9.35, maybe another 10th or 2 for general impression, and she really has herself a 9.5 routine or better had she stayed on. But that relieves some of the pressure for Margaret Ulett, who's up now.
She was 12th in the all-around in last year's Junior Nationals. But she's in with the big girls now, and she got off to a great start on vaulting. Here comes her release move. There's a reverse hecht. Straddle back over to the low bar. She has to traverse the bars, as I mentioned earlier. She can do no more than 5 skills on the high bar, and then she has to get down, do couple of skills on the low bar, and then get back up to the high bar and finish as she did with the giant through to a tuck double back.
And Margaret Ulett responded beautifully to the no-pressure situation. After she saw Ulrich fall off, the monkey was off her back.
She does a good job on this release move. This is the reverse hecht. It's really high. She barely clears the bar, and she does a good job at making the regrasp and straddling back over to the low bar. Giant to the top. Good, clean line on top. High tuck double back, almost as high as Brandy Johnson's in one little step.
And the number we have for Margaret Ulett is 9.25. She easily beats the 8.85 of Carol Ulrich. Halfway point, Kyle Asano trails Jorge Garcia, 27.05 for Jorge Garcia, 25.85 for Kyle Asano. On the women's side, it is Margaret Ulett over Carol Ulrich, 19.05 to 18.475. And speaking of the women, they are up next on the balance beam. They have already competed on the vault. They've already competed on the uneven parallel bars. And now this is a third of 4 rotations.
There's a round-off back handspring onto the beam. One of the first girls to do that in America was Tracy Talavera. Okay, she's setting up for an acro series. Back handspring, layout. Little wobble there, but it was very high. Handstand, she lowers down. The judges need to see the gymnast not only working in full point on top of the beam, they need to see full turns. They need to see the gymnast working down low on the beam. Swing through layout, nicely done. Another one, beautiful combination.
And steady.
I think she could use a little more amplitude in her leaps. She's getting by with them, but she needs to be a little more explosive and perhaps shoot for a little more air time. Oh, that's a nice combination. A split leap to a punch front 1.5 dismount. That's a mixed series, one of the things the judges are looking for.
Something else I think Margaret could work on is probably her smile and her upper body posture. She had her mouth open throughout and very focused and concentrated, but she really should show a little bit more presence to the judges.
This is a really original dismount, a split leap right to a punch front 1.5. I like that. She showed good spirit and good originality with that move.
And difficulty. That's hard to do.
Yeah, this is hard. Split leap, boom, punch front 1.5. Good job. She had lots of trouble on the landing, but a really unique idea. .6 the score for Margaret Ulett on the balance beam.
Now Carol Ulrich will try to better that mark. Carol's very proud to have received the perfect 10 you just saw on your television screen in a high school meet here in Colorado. She received several after the first.
Now she has very pretty leaps and a nice combination right off the bat of gymnastic elements. Flip-flop layout. Good job fighting it.
I'll tell you what I do like about her up there. She's very tight. I mean, the legs are straight and strong. The toes are pointed.
It counts for a lot, that terrific leg extension, as you mentioned, in terms of just overall impression. Once she's fulfilled all the requirements, like she did the full turn, she's showing work low on the beam, she's showing gymnastics series, a mixed series, as she did earlier, a round off to a split leap. You're right, it's those little things that make the difference. Look at the tremendous extension on the switch leg split leap. Oh, She was short on that layout, and I thought she could have stayed on. I don't know what happened there.
I agree. I think she could have fought that.
It's hard to say. Maybe we'll see it from a different angle later, but I'm not really sure what happened there. She was short. Round off, double full. Good dismount. It's a shame she had trouble there because that was going beautifully, and she knows.